This truck's transmission slash shifting issue is all fixed now. It no longer shifts really hard, and with this exhaust you can probably hear how much better and how much smoother that shifting is. Hey guys, it's Chloe. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you haven't checked out one of my more recent videos where I gave you guys updates about this Project 2020 Tacoma TRD Pro, be sure to check out that video first, which I'll have linked in the description box down below so you can get more context about what today's video is about. But today I have some very exciting news about this truck. Its transmission issue is completely fixed. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, the solution or what was done to fix this makes it seem like it was a very simple thing to do, but I'm gonna do my best in today's video to explain why I think this may be a little bit more complicated than it may seem on the surface. If you don't remember, and just to recap, this specific Tacoma behind me right now, which by the way has an automatic transmission, was having a lot of shifting issues and was shifting super hard, making it uncomfortable and difficult to drive. And kind of another thing that makes this issue or project more interesting is that while this truck is pretty brand new, again, it's a 2020, it was in a really big crash, and we believe that crash was in late 2019. Even though we got it all fixed up, we got the frame re-straightened, we got the sub-assembly reworked, all of the broken body panels and components that were broken, all got replaced, and I tried to do my best to show that on the channel in a couple different videos. But anyways, it was registered, and by the way, for salvage vehicles to get a rebuilt title, they do have to be inspected. So past all that, was driving fine for months, and then all of a sudden this hard shifting slash transmission issue started to happen. Anyways, a trip to a shop and then eventually a Toyota dealership a few weeks later, this Tacoma is now all fixed. So we're gonna talk about that in today's video, and we're gonna talk about what that fix was, of course. Before we get into that, I wanted to give a huge shout out to a local company here in San Diego, Ronin Factory, who's giving away a custom built up Ford Raptor. And I know, before you say it, yes, we are a Toyota family on this channel, obviously, but not only is winning a custom truck awesome, but also Ronin Factory partners with some really amazing nonprofit organizations to give back. From anything that you order from Ronin Factory's website, which has a ton of cool products ranging from car accessories, outdoor gear, or things like coffee, you will be entered to win the Ford Raptor or $100,000 in cash. And a portion of your purchase will go back to their charity partner for this giveaway, Freedom Service Dogs of America. Ronin Factory has raised over $2.5 million for Meals on Wheels, Make-A-Wish, and if you remember the last giveaway, Wounded Warrior Project. This organization that they're giving back to for this giveaway really means a lot to me because, as many of you guys know, I have a dog myself and he's just everything to me. He's so important in my life, and I can only imagine how amazing it would be for someone in need to get life-changing assistance through a service dog because of Freedom Service Dogs of America. And just on top of that, if that's not good enough, how awesome would it be if one of my viewers, one of you guys on this channel, actually won the custom Ford Raptor? So I just think it's a win-win for everyone, and if you're interested, I will have a link down in the description if you want to enter, check out past winners, or check out the awesome built-up Raptor. Anyways, now let's talk about this truck. So when this whole thing started, a couple of miles after this thing was driving, right after it first started shifting really hard, it threw a check engine light. So we took it to a Toyota dealership just to get an initial scan to figure out what the check engine light was, and maybe it would give us more answers to the issues we have been having. And based on that, the truck threw 2 error codes, which each corresponded to a bad solenoid. And with these bad shift solenoids, that can mean a number of different things, including bad electrical signals getting to the shift solenoids or bad shift solenoids themselves. And yes, while it's possible to take apart transmissions in your own garage, and for someone like me who's really curious and an engineer and loves to take things apart, doing transmission work in my garage was not something we were prepared for. But the good thing was we left the dealership with an inkling of where this issue could lie, and based on how the truck was driving, it seemed really consistent with what we heard from them. That Toyota dealership recommended that we take the Tacoma back into it so that it could get its transmission completely replaced with a brand new transmission. But before we did that, we wanted to kind of get a second opinion from another expert. We took it to a local shop to honestly just get another pair of eyes on it and just cover our bases by checking transmission fluid levels and such. What we basically got from that was all of the electrical wires going to the transmission looked brand new, like they should on a new 2020 vehicle. There was no visual damage, and the whole reason they looked at that is because there was the theory that, of course, they could have been damaged in the crash and that could have been causing all these problems. Then they pulled the drain pan to get a visual inspection on the shift solenoids themselves, which they said looked structurally sound. And then the last thing they did was check the transmission fluid level, which they said was fine, but keep note of this detail because it kind of plays along into the story a little bit later. So we were kind of out of options at that point, so we ended up taking it to the Toyota dealership again, and we expected it to be this big fix where the old transmission had to come out and a new transmission had to go in, but what we didn't expect is for the master Toyota tech to call us 2 hours later saying that he essentially fixed the problem. And that's seriously what happened. So what was the big problem and why was it so quick and easy to fix? The answer is this: Toyota automatic transmission fluid. Now, I know what you might be thinking, wow, transmission fluid, that seems pretty small and obvious, and didn't the first shop do that in the first place anyways? But you may know in newer vehicles and these 3rd gen Tacomas, we've got a sealed transmission, which honestly, for someone who doesn't have the experience or a shop who doesn't have the experience with this kind of transmission, they're a lot harder to work on. Well, I've never done it myself. It's quite the process to check or change the fluid in these Tacomas because, of course, first you have to drain the fluid, then you have to add the fluid with a pump, and you need to make sure, of course, you're adding the right amount of fluid. So you need to make sure that your fluid is at the right temperature. And guess what? If you're low, you're gonna experience issues like this Tacoma was having. Anyways, in order to check the temperature of your transmission fluid, you're going to have to jump your OBD2 scanner to get it in a mode where you can actually read the temperature. That way you can see if you need to add more or drain some more. Then on top of that, if you don't change your transmission fluid properly and you're low on transmission fluid when you start driving, you're gonna get gear grinding, you're gonna get that hard shifting, and it's just gonna be super uncomfortable to drive like this truck has been. Now, of course, if you have a Tacoma and you buy some transmission fluid and have all the tools, you can do this yourself at home, but just note, this isn't like doing an oil change. It's not that simple. We saw with this truck that even though we took it to a tech who works at a shop that we trust, that we go to, didn't really have experience with this sealed transmission and honestly just overlooked this issue. Or I should just say, they did actively check the fluid levels, but thought they were fine when in reality, they weren't. The Toyota tech that we took it to that actually fixed this problem said it was about 2 quarts low of transmission fluid. He was really nice when he was explaining it to us, and he said it's just something that's easy to misjudge if you don't know what you're looking at, and that was probably the case here. So after all that, what did we learn here and why did I make this video? Well, I made this video because obviously I owed you guys an explanation for this truck and a lot of you guys were interested in one. But also now you and I know the consequence of having low transmission fluid and how big of an effect it can have whether the fix was big or small. It's something that shouldn't be overlooked, and if you're having similar problems in one of your vehicles with an automatic transmission, of course, maybe the transmission fluid is a first place to look. Maybe it's worth going to the dealership to get a transmission fluid flush for a couple $100, or maybe for free if it's covered under warranty, rather than getting your whole transmission replaced for a couple $1,000. This was a situation, like I've been saying, that if a shop or someone hasn't seen before or dealt with sealed transmission, might not be able to fix or diagnose. And for the case of this Tacoma, I'm really glad we brought it into the dealership who eventually solved this issue. On the flip side, you do want to be as informed as possible because I hate to say it, but I could totally see a dealership taking in a truck with this exact problem, knowing that it's just the transmission fluid that needs to be filled or flushed, and just telling the customer that they need to get an entire new transmission just so they can make extra money. It sucks that that happens, and it happens so often, but luckily that was not the situation for us. From what I can tell, the Toyota tech who was on the dealership side tried to inform us as much as possible. So with this whole thing, I'm glad I know for my own 2019 3rd gen Tacoma, which also has an automatic transmission identical to this truck's transmission, how tricky it can be to check or change the transmission fluid in a sealed transmission. All that being said, you can still change your transmission fluid at home, but just make sure you know what you're doing and know that you can possibly void your warranty if you mess something up. With these newer vehicles, I wonder why they made this whole process so hard. Why isn't changing your transmission fluid just like changing your oil? Like in my 92 Land Cruiser, there's a dipstick in the engine bay, just like your engine oil, where you can check transmission fluid levels. It's really because manufacturers and automakers want you to take in your truck for service. They need that continued business, so they make it harder for you to do at home. There's a ton of other reasons too, like they don't want people dumping bad transmission fluid often, but it's definitely harder than it has been in the past. Anyways, I'm glad we have answers now, and I'm really happy I can finally just share them with you guys, close out this transmission issue. And I know, at least for me, I definitely learned a lot, so maybe you did too. The moral of the story is that automakers want to make sure that you're still taking your truck in for service, and they don't want you changing your transmission fluid at home. Anyways, regardless, we're gonna move on to some fun projects with this Tacoma. You may be able to tell some small mods that were already done to it, but we're gonna do more, and we're gonna make some videos on it. So if you're interested in that, be on the lookout for them. I don't foresee any more transmission issues, but of course I'm gonna keep you guys updated on this truck. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I do post more live updates on there. It is at Chloe Kuo Taco. Also, don't forget to check out Ronin Factory if you're interested in winning that custom built up Ford Raptor and supporting an amazing cause. That's all I have. Thanks for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.